everyone. This is Natalia on Yachting International Radio. I am joined in this first episode of the new decade, 2020, with Farouk Nefzi of Fedship, Marketing and Brand Director. How are you today?
I'm feeling very good. Happy to see what's going to occur in 2020. Absolutely. We are very excited.
Very excited, and also as it's a new decade, the roaring 20s, and you recently celebrated, well, the company Fedship has celebrated 70 impressive years in the industry.
Yeah. Yes, well, that's quite an achievement, and we had also not just our legacy in existing already for 70 years. We also, of course, celebrated the launch of our new facility. And we have made Feadship future-proof because we have the largest facility in Amsterdam right now. And yeah, that was absolutely a pivotal moment for us.
Congratulations. And obviously, a lot of milestones reached last year. So what are the New Year resolutions for Feadship in 2020?
Yes, we have a lot that, of course, is going to hopefully be a head turner for the industry. We have a few yachts that we're going to deliver. I cannot reveal anything about that, but I can tell you about more about the projects and what we're trying to do in general, and not related to the specific project itself. But we are going to put a lot more emphasis on sustainability and corporate social responsibility. There's this changing landscape that we're looking at from a customer point of view. The shift of regions, everything that's happening right now is simply so actual that it also impacts us and the whole superyacht industry as in total. But Feadship is going to invest heavily in its sustainability and innovation, in its relevance in the marketplace, especially for the future generations to come as potential clients that are seeking for a lot more transparency and and purpose, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I see also behind you, you mentioned offline a fantastic project that you're involved with, and tell us a bit more about that, and specifically as we're talking about the new generation of yacht owners or yacht users in that sense.
Yes, there are of course a lot of trends, but what you're looking at behind me were the first visions of the Nemo lounge that we have installed in Savannah, which is an 84-meter Feadship, already delivered a few years ago. But it all starts with a dream like this, and it's literally a Nemo room with a huge window that gives you a access to looking at the ocean as your aquarium, and that gives you such extra meaning and it's a totally new concept that is really mind-blowing. And we have installed it as one of the very few shipyards that have been able to do that.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And so what are your clients looking for if you compare it 20 years ago and today?
If you look at the changes, if that's what you're referring to, first of all, what we are seeing as Feadship is we were in the past it was like the people were growing into buying a Feadship. So they had several other brands, and eventually they defined for themselves that they wanted a Feadship, because we have a client base that is professional. They know what they're buying. They have already previous experiences. So most of the time they had a higher average age also. Nowadays, especially the last decade, we've seen a huge shift in age groups, but also a huge shift in regional background. So although we have always been serving the international community, of course, and in the international community at large, but we see a specific shift from serving the American market to the European market. And suddenly we had a lot of new Asian clients. And of course, Russia was playing also a very important part. Well, if you see all these different cultural dimensions, we see also those kind of trends coming back into the shape and the designs of our yachts. So I think the big changes in how we're building our yachts have everything to do with a lot of new innovation and elements of sustainability. It's a topic that is coming more and more into effect, and the awareness, of course, that comes along with that. But also, people want to be a lot more and way closer to the elements around them. So closer to the water. You see a lot of more beach clubs, for instance. You see way more accessories that enable them to do a lot more than only just sailing. But also from a adventure point of view, people are seeking for new ground. So they are exploring the world and don't mind to do explorations to the Arctic regions, for instance. People are putting also a lot of effort, and those are also the new trends, in trying to reach out and put more emphasis on what is changing around us climate-wise and how that looks like. So we had a yacht that had 6 photographers of Discovery Channel to literally bring across what they are witnessing. And those kind of endeavors are in place, and those are just a few examples of changes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I had a few conversations with travel companies, especially in high-end and luxury travel, and a lot of the time yachts are incorporated in there. And the definition of the usage of a yacht has changed significantly. Like you said, the exploration themes and going into the areas that before were unfathomable, it would not have been possible. But now with the yacht builds, it's becoming more and more so. And the yacht's also getting bigger. So what's happening there? Are we seeing a cutoff size, or are we going to go? I mean, what is the next biggest thing?
You know, there's always yachts are indeed getting bigger. So the average size of yachts is getting bigger. If we look at the total fleet that is being delivered every year, so the increase of gross tonnage is every year increasing. But as Fedship, we always kept on focusing on because we started 40 meters, and we will always do so. We started 40 meters and up to 160, 170 meters. Having that said, we have to go back to first what the type of client is looking for, and we do think there's I call it yachting purists that are, you know, in the past it was a lot from about external display, display of power and money. I want it now. There is a certain instant gratification type of attitude. So status was probably playing a role in the very past also. It changed into the need to have uniqueness, you know, to have people want value for money. And the deeper and more meaningful engagement with the product that they're purchasing, and also to be able to explain while displaying it. You know, that those are all. So when you build the increasing gross tonnage and meterage of yachts, they are not just to have a bigger sized yacht. It is for a lot more that is behind that. And I will try to describe that for you in a maybe in a more romantic way. We are serving the very few in the world. Most of the time, they own conglomerates. They are very busy. They have very, very hectic schedules. And what we see when we ask our captains, so tell us a little bit about the owner that you're serving and they tell us always the same thing. They say, you know, with that kind of life, when you barely have any privacy anymore, we see them arriving in their helicopter or in what kind of feature they're arriving with. But we see them already from afar. They took off their shoes, they took off their socks, And as soon as their bare feet hit the teak, you see all that stress relieved off their shoulders. That element is why we are building these yachts, and that's why they're yachting purists. And that's the trend that we will see more and more, that people want a lot more than just an object of desire. It fulfills a certain reason to their life, with family, with friends, being away from maybe even paparazzi and everything that surrounds them. And that is, I think is playing a much bigger role than in the past.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you touched on the family aspect, because that's very much something in the Fedship mantra, if I may say so. It's about going away and being able to use that time away with family. And also Fedship is a family in itself. I mean, you are not just Fedship, you're a group of different entities that make up for the Fedship services and everything that you offer. So in the sense that family is key, it's primordial. And perhaps what would you say is the new luxury then in that sense?
If you would ask me, I think existential luxury is becoming more and more important. As I said before, relevance is for companies becoming, I think, a matter of existence. And existential means that people will care more and more how you build, where you get your products from, what type of materials are being used, to what degree is the carbon footprint. Are you putting a lot of effort in that? How does your level of engagement look like in investing in innovation and having an R&D task force, for instance, to look at new means of building our yachts? Do the yachts have a purpose, yes or no, except from only, serving a luxurious lifestyle? So there are so much changes in that.
Yeah, and well, as the saying goes, there are yachts and then there are Feadships. So one way of putting it, right?
Fedship has always, we had so many innovations on so many levels. Of course, we are trying to set the benchmark, and we leave it up to the market to define if we're doing a good job in that or not. But we absolutely try to set the benchmark. Next to that, we do see what the trends are in the marketplace. That's why we're putting so much effort into today's innovation and sustainability, of course. Our CEOs are continuously trying to make notification of the fact that they have ambition in that. And we are investing heavily. We just, so I told you about our Amsterdam yard, which is the greenest yard in the world. Which is a yard with heat generating glass, with solar power, with using waste heat from the surrounding industries in Amsterdam, and so on. So having a pedigree of sustainable luxury, if you will, where you can also prove the fact that or I should define that differently probably. There will be an increasing scrutiny in terms of sincerity of a company and the results that you're showcasing. So that relevance is very important. You cannot just portray yourself as being green when you're not.
Yes, there's well, we've raised that topic a lot at forums and various gatherings for the yachting industry where we talk about it, but then at the end of the day, who is actually delivering on it and can produce facts and figures to prove that that is actually happening, and doing it for the better good of the industry as well? Because then the next topic I want to touch on is media a little bit, because I find that Fedship, you're doing a prime job in terms of getting out there and the message of transforming the message of yachting in itself, and that being picked up by other media, not just yachting. I think that's primordial, that you're really at that point where you're proving yourselves in all aspects that you're doing something good, not just for yourselves, but for the better of the industry and for the environment itself that you're sustaining.
Yes, well, it's of course it's a very appealing product to write about, and if you look at today's media, it's fast, it changes all the time. There's a totally new media landscape out there. So you have the traditional media, you have, but also it's very difficult nowadays to consume newsworthy facts and what is real and what is not real. So within that cacophony of media that is out there, it is very, very important to maintain a certain foothold in how you serve everybody with the utmost respect and delivering the right message. And it's very easy to make a mistake in that.
And you're quite good in terms of Fedship itself, in delivering new ways of bringing your message out. So you do a lot of video, you do a lot on YouTube, Instagram. Tell us a bit more about what your marketing department and you yourself, what was needed in yachting.
First of all, Feadship has always been a respected brand, and it has proven to be a quality brand throughout the years. Our focus a few years ago is to evolve, like luxury products in other domains are also doing, is to evolve from just being a respected brand, but to evolve to becoming a love mark. What comes in there is that you have to portray the real insights from an owner's perspective. But at the same time, you have to also serve the layered target groups that there are, because you have fans, you have super yacht professionals, you have owners, you have people that have influence on owners. So all those groups need to be facilitated with different types of media reach. So what we have done is we had a multi-layered program whereby we invited actually the professionals and our fans and everybody and give them a glimpse behind closed doors. We really opened up. So for instance, with our social media vlogs, we literally invited everybody in. We also, from an owner's perspective, we tried to trigger the deeper sense of why and what moves a client to buy a yacht. What comes into place then, and we made this series that's called Stories. The first one was the second one was Perito that we have just launched a few months ago, and the third is in the making. The first one was Bakira, by the way, and they are metaphoric for that level of engagement that clients have with what they're building. And it all comes from somewhere. So those insights we have been trying to portray instead of doing the usual. And what I mean with the usual is, if you open any magazine, there's always a helicopter shot of a yacht. And that's basically how our industry is always represented. It's always the object. It's always the product, and always from a certain angle. And when we make it a little more appealing, there's a beautiful lady on board. And maybe if there's a video, there's a family running around. But to tell the story from a totally different perspective, where you talk about insights, then I think the challenge comes in. And that's what we're trying to do.
And you do a good job, fine job of it. So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
And of course, you're also perceived as a bit of a mover and shaker in the industry yourself. You attend a lot of conferences and summits and have been a speaker as well. Tell us a bit more about that in terms of, is it actually having an impact, attending these events in the industry? Does it do something? Do we learn?
Well, as a company, you have an obligation to try to explain. There are so many elements that are quite interesting in being the kind of company that Feadship is. So I'm not the only one that is representing this beautiful company. It's also the two CEOs that represent Feadship, Jan Bart Verkuil and Henk de Vries. They also have several platforms that they have spoken at. that. And what we're trying to do is, in the past, we were kind of closed in terms of we were not really showcasing what we're doing, and we're keeping it a lot of, there was a lot of secrecy around the brand Feadship. To make people understand a little bit more, but also to give back to society, to give back to the industry. We have taken the decision to portray a little bit more out about innovation that might be used by other industries also. Right. So it is very important to also make sure that people understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. The media landscape has changed. So what was confidential 20 years ago is very difficult to keep confidential nowadays. So you have to be able to use the level of confidentiality that you have with your client and make it applicable to a new media surrounding that is today's media. And that is, I think, very important to reveal and to showcase. And if you want an audience, the audience today is quite demanding, and you cannot just sit back and say, okay, we are Fedship. And because heritage is key and very important, but in today's world, it is also very important that beyond that legacy, you keep on staying relevant for the future.
Finding the balance between the old and new. And so that's great. And what's happening in terms of something that we can find out? I mean, where are we going to see you next, Fedship?
Well, the next Fedship is about to be launched the next 2 months. Unfortunately, we cannot reveal anything yet, because we always do that as soon as we are when the yacht is being delivered, and then they're out there, and it's as simple as that. Yeah. But we have a lot more interesting stuff to come. I would like to say, if you look at our current order book, we are implementing a lot of new features. But what I'm most proud of is that the context of and I'm going back to that level of sustainability that we're trying to put in. We are really testing just about everything, from hybrid to hydrogen, which doesn't exist yet in our industry, up to solar energy, and so on and so on. So all the different aspects of trying to have a better carbon footprint is in place, and we are exploring all of that and investing in all the possibilities within our current order book. So we're actually literally delivering. When you see a lot of concept being presented, well, we are actually doing that.
And that's the thing that makes you stand out, because I've seen so many concept yachts out there, and I've always thought it's a shame they don't actually hit the ground running and nobody takes up on it and no one actually experiments with it. And here we are, well, a few years on. It's great to see that things are changing and that we will hopefully see some really innovative, not just designs, but actual the yachts in themselves working and and sailing the world in the way that they were first seen a couple of years back. So that's amazing.
Yes, and I know you're teasing me to give you a lot more about our upcoming deliveries, but unfortunately, you know, we have our confidentiality agreements that I simply have to abide by. As soon as they're being delivered, we do that with the necessary press releases and everything that comes along with that. But I'll have to keep the suspense. I'm sorry for that.
Of course. And that's fine, because we're all about being in touch and seeing all the amazing things that you do and keep doing. So if anyone's interested, of course, there's the Fedship website and all the social media handles to follow there. So Farouk, I want to thank you so much for your time and for being my first interviewer here on 2020. And it's lovely to have somebody like you to share some insights for us and to give us faith that, you know, things are changing in the yachting industry and we're going forwards, and that together.
Things are changing for the better, and I'm really positive about the outcome. And we will showcase that as soon as they are being delivered. But we already have done so, by the way. Lady S Najiba and Syzygy last year
Yeah.
were beautiful examples of a high level of innovation. Take only Syzygy with the use of glass, the curved glass, the shapes and everything. It's absolutely a showcase that sets the benchmark.
Absolutely. Gosh, can't wait to see the next bit. So,
There you go.
thank you once again, and we'll be in touch. Thanks everyone for watching this episode with Farouk from Fedship, and this is Yachting International Radio, Luxury with Natalia. See you soon for more episodes. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia.